God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 44 of Your Journey is Not Over. My name is Tanya Pearson Randolph. This is my own personal journey, and the expressions and opinions are of my own. I own all the rights to my personal journey, and to your journey is not over. Neither to be used, copied, or edited in any way, without my consent. Okay, after pondering and reflecting back through the past couple years of my life, and like I said in my last episode, when the breakdowns in the world that you once knew starts to shift dramatically, break down completely, it's God's way of letting you know that that walk that's just between you and God is fast approaching. We as humans won't shift. We won't change if we stay comfortable. So God makes us uncomfortable so that we will change, shift and begin to reflect, understand, heal, and release everything that's happened to us. All of our traumas, our hurt, our betrayals, our setbacks on our journey. And that way, God assures that we will step into our purpose, the reason our souls were sent here. Learn the lessons and for us to learn and change and evolve. Before April 27, 2023, my life was happy. It was secure and safe, and for the first time ever, I had the husband that every woman dreams of having. He was very kind, loving, loyal, and we truly were soulmates. We got each other, understood each other, and we were from the same side of the tracks, so to speak. We had the exact same personalities and the same love of people. My husband had experienced his own childhood traumas, so we related to each other on so many levels. And we were alike on the fact that neither one ever wanted anyone to experience the pain, the betrayals, the hurt we had experienced throughout our lives. We didn't let our childhood traumas turn us into monsters. I will always say we were a match made in heaven. And for the first time in my life, I had someone who truly got me, loved me, understood me, and also seen the world like I did with those rose-colored glasses. Seeing the world and people through our childlike innocence, always seeing only the good in everyone. And we were both very forgiving of our past traumas. And yes, before April 27, 2023, we had a normal life, a happy marriage, happy and content life. Here's our story, okay? We had went to lunch together a few times when we were in high school. He was really shy, and I was very outgoing. Opposites completely. And his shyness is what drew me to him in high school. Not to mention, he was really cute too. Well, he disappeared from school. He had quit school. Life threw him a curveball, and so we never seen each other again until 2016. That's when we reconnected. It was magical. Our very first date in 2016, we seen a double rainbow. And I have to say, I laughed so hard on that date. We had the best first date. Before that date, I must explain that I had hit a rough time in my life. I had divorced my second husband and also made what I will say a really bad business deal, with ultimately it cost me pretty much everything I owned. My home, my source of income. I had to sell everything I had of value, things that meant everything to me and things I had held on to for years, such as my jewelry, just to pay the bills. I ended up living in government housing, working 2 jobs, cleaning houses on the side, and donating plasma 2 times a week. I'd hit rock bottom, literally. It's one of those high five moments that I mentioned about with my family and secret haters. Even my mom got glory from my fall. And yes, I was all alone with very few people around me. and definitely no one there to pick me up and dust me off and help me after I'd helped so many people. When I'm up, doing good, and I had the resources to give and help others, I always have. But my whole life, when I'm down, those same people were nowhere to be found, nor did I reach out. Why would I? That would only add to others' glory, give them reasons to celebrate my downfall even more. And I do have to let you know, during this period of time in my life, I went back to work at a grocery store that I'd worked out off and on since I was 17 years old. That was one of my jobs. And the hardest part of that was I was pushing groceries through every day that I couldn't afford food, couldn't afford to eat. It took everything I made working, cleaning houses, and donating plasma to pay my bills. I couldn't afford food. So I would go 3 or 4 days a week without eating. I lived on chewing gum and coffee. My worst fears, my nightmares from my childhood, had become a horrible reality. I was an adult and thought I had the power to never let that happen to me, like it had when I was a child, when I was helpless, no control. So, yes, I was left starving, going to bed every night hungry and worried about food, waking up to the same hunger pains. Helpless completely, but digging my way out financially, little by little, not giving up. And during this period of time, people trying to crucify me, start rumors, lies to cover up their own greed, and the fact I was just a pawn in others' games to get ahead financially. And being trusting definitely cost me a lot while others gained a lifestyle, status built solely by me. Let me put it this way: in order to save face in our small town, those others had to try and convince others I was everything that I'm not. Again, projection. I will address one thing right now. Mind you, there was a lot said to discredit me, ruin my reputation, my status in my town. But one thing I am not is a thief, nor would I ever have stolen from a business that I was under contract and was under the impression I was buying. Why would I? I worked so hard to build something, pay for. It cost me a lot on contract, and then sabotage myself? That makes no sense at all. It was all an illusion created to again discredit me and cost me everything, so that others could profit from my time, my blood, sweat, and tears, and countless hours spent. And if ever I was a thief, hand to God on this, I would have stolen food to get me through the periods I was made to starve for days on end. I starved. Imagine the trauma that brought on me. After my childhood of starving, working at the grocery store I now see was a test from God. I was helpless, starving, and God wanted to see if my back was against the wall, would I change? Do the devil's work? Still, even as helpless and as hungry, not to mention traumatized as I was, it never happened. Our Father in heaven knows exactly who I am and what I'm made of, even at my lowest. Now to my husband. He had moved out of his rental right before we started dating and had been living with different family members, extra bedroom, and a garage at another, and was paying these family members $500 a month, gassing up their cars, buying groceries. He was grateful and overcompensated. That is just who my husband was. I had again dug myself out and was just starting to be able to buy groceries and get back to normal, save myself when he and I started dating. So he could relate, we could relate to each other. He had went through a divorce from his second wife, so we related again on so many levels and just connected. We fell in love, enjoyed our time together, even though we both were very dedicated to our jobs. My husband was a man that worked 12 to 14-hour days, 7 days a week, as a project manager for a construction company owned by our best friends. He was a very driven, hardworking man. We matched energies on every level, let's just say. Well, we dated for a while, and then we decided to take it to the next level. He proposed, and we moved in together. He wanted me to have a ring on my finger. The intent of marriage before we moved in together? Old fashioned, just like myself. Again, my true soulmate. Well, us getting together and moving in together was met with resistance from the family members that he had been paying to stay with. Of course, they neither one wanted to lose the $500 a month, the gas, the groceries, the benefits they received by him staying with them. They weren't worried about his happiness. No, not at all. They were more concerned with his wallet and what the money in his wallet did for them. Money is the root of all evil, right? Isn't that what we've been taught our whole lives? My way of looking at it, because I have never believed everything I was taught, money isn't evil. Greedy people try and make money evil. Others' greed is what I consider evil. With all of that being said, my husband and I were on even playing fields when we got together, and we started to build a life together, a good life, the best each of us had ever had. Not materialistic, neither. We both found the love, the compassion, the trust, and the security that we'd longed for our whole lives, and happiness like never before. We found each other. April 27, 2023 was our first appointment with the urologist. Before I get to that, please take note. My husband came home from work and said, I have a little blood in my urine and just a little bit of right side pain. Nothing major, he told me. Seriously, we thought a kidney infection, a urinary tract infection, even a yeast infection. Yes, men do get yeast infections. So we truly thought a quick ER visit to our local hospital, some antibiotics, and all is good. That wouldn't be our case at all. It was at this appointment that we got to see the CT scan, taken days earlier at the emergency room. There was a massive tumor inside his bladder. It was busting through the bladder wall and into the prostate. Devastation is an understatement. Our lives changed completely that day, but we still had hope. The urologist even called his friend that was a cancer specialist from his cell phone sitting in that room with us. He was putting a plan in place to try and save my husband's life. All hands on deck. This is the only time my husband ever displayed any fear or any anger, was right after we left this appointment. I have thought back to those moments countless times, and he knew. Deep down, he knew. So May 6, 2023, we were at Indianapolis Cancer Center, and my husband had a procedure done for the specialist to biopsy the tumor. And also, we had no clue until this procedure that my husband's left kidney was blocked and wasn't draining at all. It could have exploded from the back up. So a drainage tube was put into his back to the kidney to allow it to drain. And with only one kidney, and with that kidney being down, he couldn't do chemo. The odds were stacked against us right from the start. It takes 2 good kidneys to do chemo because chances are the chemo could knock out one. And it was also that day, May 6, 2023, we found out he was stage 4 bladder cancer. But there was still hope. With the surgery and removing the entire bladder, and of course, a colostomy bag, he could survive, given that the cancer didn't spread to the bones before that surgery. Again, hopeful. The journey we were on and the journey that we was put on was the most painful, and it truly revealed to both of us how precious life truly is and how fast life can change. One click of a clock can truly change everything, and sadly reveal the true nature of others, the true greed of people. Sadly, my husband got to witness this and what he truly meant to others before he died. Because of money, life insurance. The spiteful ways displayed towards me during his illness were too obvious. No one could ignore it, and how being spiteful towards me, the beneficiary, his wife, only hurt my husband. Yes, did it make it harder on both he and I? Of course. People revealed who they truly were before my husband died. And as he told me 3 days before he died, he said, "You were right." I never wanted to be right, and I prayed these particular people would prove me wrong, but that didn't happen. As my journey will unfold, episode after episode, you will learn that people value the almighty dollar more than human lives, and they become very vindictive, spiteful, when money is all that's on their minds. Their true characters can't be masked anymore. Their true nature gets revealed during the most trying and helpless times of our lives. Again, in order to get to my spiritual awakening, I'm getting there, I promise. I must first tell you all about the beginning of God making changes in order to make me move. Step into turning my pain to power, shedding my shame, and speaking up and speaking out about taboo subjects that no one really wants to talk about or expose. I call it my purpose. This concludes my podcast for today. Please join me Tuesday, listen in, and always remember your journey is not over. God bless.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God